Welcome to bosspodcast.com. I'm your host, Fredrick Douglas Bussey, along with my co-host, Richard Pierce. We've got an amazing show for you today. This is the one that everybody thinks about and nobody talks about, that everybody thinks they have a hack for, but they're not talking about it directly. We're going to dive in, tackle this thing head on, like a Kodiak bear, like two deranged men on the wild side of the mountain. So we're going to get to it. Before we do, I want to make sure that those of you who are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, and also comment and let us know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions or thoughts about the topic for today, drop that in the commentary below. If you're watching this on replay, drop a hashtag replay. Let us know that you're watching it after the live show. We're live right now, of course, and so we like to do things in real time to be able to help business owners, support them in scaling their businesses to be able to grow and accomplish the things they want, to create freedom for their lives, for their families, generational wealth, and most of all, to be able to have the impact in the world that they know that they're capable of doing. Whether you're a rebel or a revolutionary, we're here to support you in what you're up to. First of all, before we go any further, Richard, how are you today?
Doing very well. I'm pumped about this subject, cash flow, because it's one of the most critical items in a business. And like you said, a lot of people either don't talk about it, it's a blind spot, they don't know it's there, or they know they have cash flow challenges. They just don't know exact step-by-step methods to solve it and never have cash flow problems again. And that's what we're here for, is to give you bite-sized, actionable, real-world steps that you can apply to your business for cash flow. So again, it's never a challenge again if you implement some of these items that we'll talk about today. So it's going to be a great show.
I agree. I can't wait to get started. But before we do, we want to remind everyone that behind you on the wall, we have a printout of a business visual tool, a business toolkit that we will send to you USPS, and all you have to do that is to email us or text us at bosspodcast.com or gatewaybusiness.com. And if you do that, you are going to walk away with something that's going to be extremely valuable, a reminder when you are in the weeds, in the trenches, trying to figure out the next steps. What should I be focused on? We'll send this to you so you can have that in your physical space, your office, your warehouse, wherever the case may be, to remind you. And it's at no obligation to you. We're here to build long-term relationships with our audience and our clients always. So if you would love to have this tool to give you a framework to be able to focus in your business, then go to bosspodcast.com or gatewaybusiness.com and let us send this to you free of charge. Richard, let's get into it. We mentioned at the top that people do not talk about money. It's interesting, right? Because business is typically what you think about. That's money. That's all about the money. And yet many people really, really struggle when it comes to running the company, getting the things flowing that they really want to be able to get. It makes it hard when you don't have cash flow, when the cash is not flowing. It's like the river is stopped up and the bed is run dry. So what is one of the first things that we tell our clients that they should be focused on when it comes to cash flow? Well, you know what? First, let's back that up. How do people know? Let's talk about the symptoms. What are the symptoms of not having strong cash flow in your business? Because a lot of people may not actually be aware of what that is.
Great question. Great question. So we'll go to the very basic fundamentals of cash flow. So cash flow is like oxygen to your business. If you think about that, it's like oxygen. Without it, your business will starve to death. And a lot of times, like you said, people don't know what the symptoms are. So some of the symptoms could be, in no particular order, do you struggle or sweat over paying very basic bills? Like, for example, in your business, like, for example, payroll. Do you not know where payroll? Are you not ahead on payroll? I mean, when I say ahead, do you not have a cash reserve where you can make payroll without any challenges? If you have any other, like, do you pay rent in your building, paying suppliers? That could be a big one too. If you're behind on some of your suppliers, it could be you haven't made a profit consistently. Have you paid yourself outside of payroll? So just look at any of these factors where, or there are advancements in your business that you would make, but the money is not there to make those advancements in your business. So again, just look at any of these items, and if you have, um, been kept up at nighttime wondering where that consistency was going to happen from, that would be one of the first things to identify that you have a cash flow challenge. That would be one of the first items. And with that, I'm going to jump in no particular order. I made like kind of a I won't call it a grocery list, but is everybody like me? You've went to, it doesn't matter if you're online or going physically to the store, and you think, oh, I need to get A, B, and C, and then you either go onto your app if you have it shipped to your house, or even go walk in the store to get some items and then forget to get the items that you actually, went for. I'm
Right.
laughing because I'm right. Well, I'm sure we've all been there. So I made a list here before the show so that I wouldn't forget any items that are really, really important. And we'll kind of, I'm going to go over these first, just kind of, bullet point style, and then we'll go further in depth. So if anybody's listening and one of these really like resonates, you've either tried it, couldn't do it, or some of these will be you've never heard of them before. Again, we're going to make this bite-sized, actionable, where you can get benefits immediately from it. So again, first, I'm just going to go over the list that I've made, no particular order, and then we'll recircle back and go more in depth on each one. So the first one, and this is when I work with clients, is raise your prices, increase your prices. And let me share the magic in the numbers here. So business is about percentages and momentum. And a lot of business owners don't understand the numbers in their business. You don't have to you don't have to have an accounting degree. You don't have to be a mathematician. Yet you must understand some very, very fundamentals of numbers. So increasing your prices, and again, I almost jumped in there. I caught myself. So we'll circle back why increasing prices can make a dramatic shift in cash flow more than most people realize. The next one is identify items with the least or negative margins. So we're going to talk about loss leaders, when to have them and when not to have them. The second is build a subscription-based business. This can be done in any industry. We'll go into examples there. Never be the bank. Don't finance your work. The second is pay suppliers less. And again, we'll go into details here. Make money when you buy. Third, send out, I mean, not third, how far I'm into this. Send out invoices immediately. Next one, upgrade your inventory. We're going to go over the 80-20 rule, and then something brand new to a lot of people, the 64-4 rule. Then the next one is ask existing customers what product or service they would buy if you offered it. We'll go into some more details. Next, work on retainer only. Again, I could go on forever. This is one of my passions, helping businesses get more profitable cash flow. Buying from a cooperative, fire non-ideal clients. So we've all been there. Lower customer acquisition cost, automation. So again, there's quite a few things. This would be 2 shows, if not 3, but definitely 2 shows. So let's circle back to the top one there. I want to cover that one, and then I want to get your perspective on this too. So the first one, when I start working with clients, I often ask them what would their thoughts be on increasing their prices. And
Mhm.
they'll say, well, the competition, would outdo me or something like that. The biggest competitor you have in business is the first person you see every morning in the mirror. Number one,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So second, let me do some simple math here with this. Again, these are just fundamentals. Every situation is going to be different. But let's say you operate at a 20% net margin. You currently operate at that.
Mhm.
So for every dollar you bring in, you make 20 cents net after cost of goods sold. I count everything: labor, shipping, overhead, all of those items like that, net before taxes.
Right.
So, right. So if you do something simple as raise your prices 10% with
Mhm.
everything else being the constant, that drops straight to your bottom line. Your
Mhm.
right, your expenses don't increase because that is purely profit dropping to your bottom line at that point in time,
Right.
right? So you can see what a difference that would make. So
Mhm.
you may only think, well, I'm only raising it 10%. And I often encourage clients, and we've tracked these numbers. You increase it 20%, you may lose 5% you lose a smaller percentage of your customers, usually your headache customers,
Mhm.
then you will gain more in revenue, profitable revenue, and weed out those non-ideal clients.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's something to think about there. So what's your perspective on that, Frederick? Or if there's one of those other ones that kind of jumped up at you, we could dive into that one too.
No, I think this was really, really great. You'll hear people give advice about this, that this is what you should do. And, but a lot of people really struggle with this. A lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with raising their prices. And I think it's for a couple of reasons that I found in working with clients. One is that a lot of people buy, or a lot of people sell the way that they buy, right? And so
Very
they've not raised their own level of understanding about the market space. And so their immediate thought is, well, who's going to pay more for that? Right. And one of the things that we talk about this in sales, but you're actually the first salesman, like you said, is the first person that's in the mirror. You have to be able to influence yourself in the right direction. You have to be convinced of your own value. And value is not tied to price. Value is not about how much something costs. Value is about the ultimate outcome that you get for the people that you're serving. And the first value that we have to think about is how valuable is it for our business to be able to make money, to survive, so that we can last long enough to accomplish all the things that we started about in the first place. So raising your prices inevitably starts with shifting your mindset around money, around value, around what it is that you're really offering. Because a lot of times we are influenced by these negative stories in our heads around money, right? Our own relationship with money. And that in and of itself is a whole separate show, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, I think that it's really true. The sooner that the entrepreneur can embrace the fact that they can raise their prices, and I'm sure you have many stories about people who raise their prices above and beyond what they thought anybody would pay for, and someone is always going to pay for it. As a matter of fact, why don't you tell the story about the guy who was selling the $100 bill? Do you remember that story that you told
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. This was many years ago. I was into numismatics. I can't pronounce every word exactly, but basically the collecting of coins.
Yeah.
And went to a coin show, where there's 150 different dealers, and they're with coins. You also get paper money mixed in with that. And one of the dealers, he just took a regular $100 bill, face value, out of his wallet, only worth $100 in circulation, no collector value, anything. And he, just for kind of an experiment, he put it on the top of his display and put $100 bill, $75. And people would walk by and look at it and kind of like, oh, what's wrong with this? It must be counterfeit or fake or something. They were kind of looking at it like, why is it $75? And he's like,
Right.
oh, I don't know, just it's $75. So again, after a while couldn't sell it just for fun, he put it at $150. Keep in mind, no collector value, just regular, American $100 bill. Puts it at 150. Same thing. People ask, well, why is it 150? And he's like, I don't know. Somebody winds up buying it. So, so again, it's one of those items where price is a perception of value. And I think what you said, Fredrick, needs to go a little bit more in depth is don't sell the way you buy. Could you give an example of that? Because a lot of people do that, and I think it's important to keep in mind when we're setting our prices. What's an example of the selling the way we buy?
Well, so I mentioned it. Let me give a broader example. A lot of times we will price something and think, oh, who would pay more for this? And that's because a lot of times when we have a scarcity mentality, which you may hear people say a lot, scarcity mentality, but it really is the idea that money is scarce. I have to hold on to it. And so we use that as the driving metric for how we make decisions about purchasing things, right? So we go into the store and we look for the cheapest thing. And we go and say, well, I've only got this amount of money. Let me budget it and make sure I don't want to spend more than this. And so what we do is when we price our products, we're thinking the same thing. Our products or services, we're acting as if we're putting it on the shelf in the same way that other people, in the same way that we do it ourselves. So we're saying, well, I want to make sure that it's the lowest price, or that it doesn't appear to be the outlier. And so there's a lot of other internal things that we're internalizing and we're projecting onto our prices and our services. And yet what we don't realize is that everything, you talk about this a lot, being client centric, and price is a communicator of value also, right? So a lot of times is how I always ask my clients, how often have you ever looked at something and said, if it was the cheapest, it was the best, right?
Never happens.
Never happens. Everybody says, oh, it's the cheapest. And so if it doesn't matter, if it's a commodity like plastic forks or napkins or something like that, and maybe you're saying, I just want as many as possible, then you're going to buy the cheapest. But if you want a quality experience, if you don't want to experience, what do we call it? Buyer's remorse, you're going to go out there and you're going to really evaluate and say, well, what's the greatest quality? What's the greatest outcome that I can get? And oftentimes that is the highest price. It's not always true, but rarely are you going to find the cheapest thing that's going to be the best. That's almost never happens. So
Correct.
So if we're buying that way, then we also want to remember, we don't want to be pricing our products that way. And so I for myself, I've learned to push the envelope as far as possible, because here's the thing. If somebody buys it and you priced it above what you thought you could pay, but you realize as soon as they buy it, you feel like maybe I could have charged more, right? And there's nothing wrong with getting more money for it, as long as you're delivering a quality service, a quality product. And if you really believe you're the best and you really want to be the best, why shouldn't you price yourself that way, right?
Very true. Yeah, I think that's something to look at too, is like you said, we may be frugal and want a better deal on something, yet not everybody buys that way. And everybody here has something that they bought the best of, whatever that may be. It may be a hobby you have, something for your business, and that's the key. I had a client that was a gym, and they had, of course, the monthly, I think at the time their prices were like $29 a month, right? So people think, oh, there's a lot of competition. Oh, we got to, so we literally more than doubled the prices. We went to $75 or $80 a month. I think it depended on the package that they bought, and may have lost 10% of the business. Yet look at the numbers again. What does that do to your overall profit? It's an absolute game changer. So that could be an example there as well. So again, just raising your prices, remove that mental roadblock in your head that people aren't going to buy, because a certain percentage of the market you will appeal to, because price is a perception of value. Simply raising your prices, your ideal clients will see it more valuable. So that's the key there. I want to jump on a few more of these items because, again, some of these we could really get on in depth, but the main thing is get out of your own way and test and measure these items out. Don't put up any mental roadblocks there. So let's see. Let's just pick one of these because they're all great to look at here. And so one of the items here is identify items with the least or negative margins. And then I want to talk about loss leaders. So a loss leader, I'll give you an example. Go back to the grocery store. So a loss leader could be an example at a grocery store. They may have milk, eggs, some produce, sometimes meats. They'll have like some basic staple items, and they will sell these at a very low margin and sometimes even a loss, like below what their cost is. And the reason on this is because they want to get you in the store, and then they want to, they know through statistics. Let's say milk. The average person buys 1.5 gallons of milk. I'm just, could buy, one person buys 2, one person buys 1, so the average is 1.5 gallons. So maybe they lose 50 cents on that gallon of milk, yet they know you're going to buy other items. You're going to buy, let's try to think what's a high margin item like rice. I don't know what the margin on rice is, but let's say you're going to buy more sweet potatoes. You're going to buy items that there's more margins in. You're going to stop by the, pharmacy, and you're going to pick some, medication up. You're going to get some cough. You're going to buy different items that they're going to have a much higher margin on. Paper products like paper towels, those are high margin items. So that's what they're doing. So bigger companies and I say bigger, companies that have millions and millions in revenue, this could be a good strategy as long as they know what their numbers are. But for smaller and mid-sized businesses, like if your revenue's under $2 million or under that, it's not a good strategy to have. But the key is understanding what the margins are on very specific products or services that you offer, and eliminating those loss leaders unless, and here's a little asterisk here, unless you package the loss leaders up. So I'm going to give you a very specific, I know I talk a lot of fundamental items here, so I'm going to give you a very specific situation here. So oil change. I know everybody loves to get their car repaired because they love those unexpected expenses, but it's still necessary, right? So let's say, for example, you go into an automotive repair shop. When you get an oil change, the majority of the time that is a loss leader or a very small margin for that auto repair shop. The oil change itself, let's say it's $100, and every car is different, but let's say it's $100. They may make maybe $10 on that. Sometimes not even that much. Sometimes they don't even make any money. Yet what they know is that when the person brings in their car, on average, they're going to need additional repair work. They're going to need brakes. They're going to need something electrical. Something is not working with their car. The charging system, the cooling system, something is not right with that car. So they're going to get additional work on that vehicle. So that, and so when I say package, maybe instead of like individually, $100 for that oil change, they would do like a 2 years of oil changes for $600. So this increases the cash flow in the beginning, plus that customer is going to have to come in to exercise that option to utilize that oil change, right? And then if they come in 5 times for the oil changes, they're definitely going to have something wrong with their brakes. They're going to need new tires, something of that nature. So that's when I say, when you package your loss leaders, that's why you can use it as a strategy to literally make a profit over the long run with your ideal customers. So versus the other example would be, There are some people with oil changes, they just want to go to the cheapest place for a different oil change, right? They'll go to the dealer one time, an independent shop the next time, a franchise oil change the next time. That's not your ideal customer, so they would not buy that package of oil changes.
Right.
So, right. And again, this could be done in any type of business. This could be done in, restaurants. This could be done in, if you have a coffee shop, you can package your loss leaders to filter out who your ideal long-term customers are that are going to buy repeatedly, and they're going to buy other products from your business. So that would be one there. Let me go to a couple more, because I know I've had some people ask. There's been some comments. People are asking about other items here. So let's see here. So let's go to. I'm trying to think. There's so many good ones here. Let's go to make money when you buy.
Yeah.
So
That's a good one.
It's a good one, right? So is everybody taking notes? And we don't want your competition listening to this. Whatever you do do not tell anybody else about bosspodcast.com. Hint, hint. keep it a secret. Keep it a secret, So
do not like, subscribe.
Exactly. Yeah. Do not like, do not share. I'm just joking. So make money when you buy. So where this originates from, when there's people that buy and flip real estate, okay? And the typical model when people buy and flip real estate is they want to buy it, the house, let's just use it's a house, a residential house. You can do this with any type of real estate, but we're using this very specific example. You're going to buy a house that needs some work. It's dated. It needs carpet, paint, possibly updating cabinets, things of that nature. Needs some landscaping out front. It's aged. Every neighborhood has one of these houses. So what happens is usually one or two people get together, and let's just say it was Fredrick and I. So Fredrick and I was like, hey, we're going to go make money in real estate. We're going to go flip a house. We're going to go find one that needs a lot of work. We're going to buy it. The market value's 500, but we're going to buy it for 300, and we're going to put 100 into it. So we have 400 total into it, and we're going to make $100,000. Life's going to be great, right? So that's in theory what happens. You buy it for and I'm just using this example as a number. You buy it for 300, retail it's 500, and we're going to put 100 into it, rehabbing it. Some of the work we're going to do, but most of it we're going to hire contractors, painters to do all the work, and then we're going to sell it at retail and make money. So that sounds good in theory, right? That sounds good in theory. It is done. It can be done. Yet, what you really want to do, and again, this is where you want to be on secure Wi-Fi. This is top secret here. Okay, so what you really want to do is make money when you buy. And what that is, Fredrick and I buys that same house at 300, yet without doing anything to it, without painting it, without hiring anybody, without cleaning up the landscaping, we can sell that house at a profit, any profit, 350, 330, 320, whatever it is. So, right. So we've technically made money when we bought that house. And right. So you have to look at it. Some people say, well, why wouldn't you wait and make 100 and do all that work? Well, a couple items here. That 100's less predictable. Second, how long will it really take to hold that property, to get all that work done, go through zoning, go through inspection, all of those details? If that would take, let's say 4 months, but we could sell, but we bought this house at 300, let's just say 10%. We made $30,000. Well, we could do that in a week. So we've made money when we've bought. So to tie this back to anything else, and again, this could be a separate show about, flipping real estate, what to do, what not to do, things of that nature. Even doing it without money could be a secret show. So in this example, it doesn't matter what business. Pick an industry, Frederick. I want to use this example in random industry. Just pick an industry.
Let's say a bakery.
Bakery, beautiful. So a bakery, the typical model is a bakery, actually has a retail display in the front where they have all their, cookies and pastries and breads and, souffles, a wide variety of items. Yet but in the back, they have, depending on the bakery, $800,000 in machinery. They've got right? They have payroll. They have all the, fire suppression systems, all of these items in the background, right? So let's say total, and again, this could change. This is a range. Let's say total, you have, $700,000 tied up in your bakery. Your payroll every week, because you got to pay people to make the bakery goods. You've got to pay people, let's say your payroll, and again, there's an estimation, $10,000 a week in payroll. Your inventory, all your supplies, another $20,000. Yet, what would happen if you just had a retail? You did not do the baking yourself, and you just had a nice retail location. The people walk in, all the display cases are really nice, and you bought it from another bakery. You did not cook all those delicious items yourself. Someone else cooked it in a commercial kitchen, and then you had the retail presence to actually sell that food. Right. So that's an example, but then when you buy it from that commercial kitchen, and I have no idea how much bagels, I'm using this as an example, whatever it is, bagels or something like that, you bought bagels, and again, I don't know the prices of bagels. You bought bagels at $5 a dozen, but you sold them at $12 a dozen. So your profits are predictable, which is one of the subsets of cash flow. It's a predictable profit margin versus all of the overhead that you would have if you had to bake those bagels yourself, had to guess what the sales would be. Your maybe some of the help didn't show up one day, so you had to work extra hours yourself or whatever it may be. So that's the key, and that's an example. You can do this in any business, and the bakery is I like that one too, because we've all walked inside a bakery where they made all the types of items that they had, and then we've all walked in convenience stores, or like, I'll give an example. There's a local coffee shop that I go to, and they have donuts up there, but they don't make the donuts. Someone else actually brings the donuts in. So right. So that's something to look at. It can be done in every business, and there's a lot of industries now, they do it in varying degrees, but on the outside as a consumer, we don't look at it. Yet we need to look at this with our own business and realize that we don't have to work hard. I'll use that. It takes a lot of energy, but that working hard is a fallacy a lot of times. So,
yeah, I think what you're speaking to is a type of entrepreneur who understands, right? So there's a difference between being a technician and being a business operator or even a business owner, right? And the owner is at the highest level when they realize that I own the entity that creates the value, and therefore doing the job is not the thing that creates the value, right? So when we talk about making money on the buy, you are saying that I don't have to be the person that does the work, because that's the lowest possible value that I can create. It takes more time, it's labor intensive, I've got to have all the equipment, I've got to do all the things. All that stuff is stuff that you lose. And we're talking about cash flow. This is how you generate cash flow. This is how you get wealthy in your business. A lot of people are so married to doing the work, being the one that does it the best, quote unquote, or whatever, when you can go out and hire other people and make money on the hire. right? So it's not making money on the buy, but you're making money in the hire, because a lot of people who start bakeries, for instance, using this example, love to cook. Awesome. But cooking in and of itself is not a business. And cooking in and of itself is very labor intensive, and it ties you to the stove and doesn't allow you to be able to do that. So if you can think outside the box, think at a higher level. Well, this is what we're really talking about here. This is boss podcast, not technician podcast, right?
Exactly.
So the boss is always thinking about cash flow, because cash flow, like you said, is the oxygen of your business. It allows you to be able to breathe, to survive, and kind of like a top athlete, right? When you can process oxygen faster, which means your body is stronger, etc. The same way that if your business is stronger, it can process more cash flow. It allows it to be able to perform at a higher level. You can move faster. You can be more agile. And so a lot of the things, the conditions that happen to you in the real world don't affect you the same. You know, the people at the very top, the 1% of businesses, are navigating the same storms that everybody else is, but they're able to do it like a cruise liner, ocean liner, not like a little rowboat in the sea, right? And it makes a huge difference. You're much more stable and much more positioned to be able to do things at a higher level. We have a comment. Somebody said they're glad they're listening. Glad I listened in. Awesomeness in the content. Thanks so much for your comment.
Yes, we appreciate that comment. And what you said, Fredrick, I think it deserves saying again. You own the entity that creates the value. So every business owner forgets that a lot of times when they're in the trenches. So right, and you own the entity. It doesn't matter if it's a bakery, auto repair shop, a CPA firm, you're in manufacturing, whatever that is. And I think it's important because that technician, you know, if let's say you're a dentist, for example, it's incredible that you go to the dental school to learn about cavities and cleaning teeth, things of that nature. Yet that whole operation is what creates the value. So I think that's so important to really give ourselves credit as business owners where that value is, and then that's even better for the our ideal customers as well. So I think that's a big plus.
Yeah, give yourself a promotion. You know, a lot of times we think we have to be the person that's in the trenches, but once you start thinking at that higher level, think like a boss, think like a business owner, you actually can promote yourself to that level, and now you give yourself permission to make more money. Like, you don't have to struggle along and just be grinding away with the grease on your hands all the time. If you love tinkering in the garage, if you love baking the cookies, it's fine if you have the option to do it. But when you have to do it for your business to survive, you're operating far below your potential, and you're going to be really stifling your ability to grow and to scale like you want to. What else do we have on the list? We've got a few minutes left, Richard.
We'll cover another item here. Let's cover one more, and then we'll do the next show on cash flow, because again, this is a multi-show topic, and I just want to give some people the actionable items that they can do first. So here's a mistake I see a lot of business owners make, and there's two parts to this. One of them is send out invoices immediately. Send out invoices immediately. So let's say, like I have a client that's actually a handyman. He does multiple six figures. So I want to people discount, which this could be a separate show too, is industries that people discount. He's a handyman. He earns profits multiple six figures from it. So there's a lot of money when you run it effectively. So for an example, let's say he installs a door. You know, a customer calls. They need a front door put on their house and some painting trim done. And he has to go out and buy that door for, you know, again, doors range in prices. Let's say he has to pay $1,200 for that door plus some other supplies. So he has $1,500 in hard cost to buy that door. He actually invoices the minute that they agree to have that door installed. So he will collect, right? So think about this. He will collect the money for the door itself, for the hard cost. And in this example, he charges, this is the example where we're talking about, he charged $3,500 total for the door, material. He actually picks the door up. I know it sounds crazy, but he installs it. So he invoices. As soon as they say yes, then he collects the money so he doesn't have to finance the door, doesn't have to go out and buy the door, put it on his credit card, and wait for the invoice to be paid after he does the work. And that's typically, right? That's typically a lot of times the way companies operate. They either get half down, which this is not the way to do it, especially if you've got more than half in expenses. They'll get half down and the other half when the job is done. Not ideal. So in this example, he gets the money, and then he sent the invoice out earlier than he would have before. Then he's always in profit mode. So I think that's the key, and this can be done in any type of industry, regardless of what the competitors do. So I think that's part of it, right? And the reason I say that, I see a lot of clients when we first start working with them, they have these limiting beliefs that the what the competition does or what they did before, or they tried that one time and somebody didn't like it. Well, if that person didn't like it, they were not your ideal customer. So, and I use the example, we talk about this all the time, is let's say your shoe size is like Fredrick's a size 12, I think you said, Fredrick, yours a size 12 shoe, and mine's size 11. So let's say, for example, Fredrick and I had a shoe store and we only sold size 11 and size 12 shoe. Are we going to lose people that wear a size 14? Yeah, we won't sell those people's shoes. Or we're going to lose people that buy size 10 and size 8. Yeah, we're going to lose those people. But how many millions of people wear size 11 and 12? Right? How many different types of shoes are there? I mean, tennis shoes, hiking boots, sandals, dress shoes, the list goes on and on and on. So that's the key is, I would say the main takeaway, and I'm watching the time here because we both get talking, which is good because we're so passionate in helping business owners. But look at that send your invoices out faster, even collecting the money up front. It can be done. I've seen it done in every industry, working with all types of different clients over the years. So there's some main takeaways there.
No, that's really good because a lot of the common thinking or common practices that people exercise in business are things that are just hand-me-downs from years and years of industry practice. And it really was because at one point in time, a guy decided, hey, send me the invoice when all this is done and we'll do half down, half later. And it was a lot of these practices also come from scarcity mentality, thinking that if I ask for all the money up front, he's not going to give it to me. There's a lack of trust or whatever. There's certain things that are just kind of baked into these things that people don't really think about. And if you allow yourself to operate in a certain way, this is just your policy. Because there are other policies where that is the case, right? So when you buy a house, you actually pay for that house all at once. The bank gives the check to the buyer, right? They pay for it all at once. You pay it back in installments. You're paying back the bank, but you're not paying the buyer. The buyer gets the money all up front. Now, imagine if the buyer said, okay, well, give me half now and you give me the rest when you move out of the house, right? Everybody would go, well, there's no way I would do that. I don't live there anymore. So you have the house now.
Great example.
There's a lot of things that people do, right, that we just are common practice in certain industries that don't have to be that way. And when you allow yourself to be that, again, it's also, you turn yourself into a category of one business. And the last thing I'll say about this is what came up for me is that people don't think about, business owners don't realize the fact they experience it, but they're not thinking about the fact that time is expensive. So the longer it takes you to get the money in your account, the longer it takes for you to be able to deploy it in your own business, right? If it takes you longer, then you got to finance other things in your business, other expenses, right? And you talked about it. We'll talk more about this in the next episode. Don't be the bank, right? But essentially, every dollar that you don't have now is a dollar you can't spend, which means that it costs you some percentage of an extra above that dollar to be able to finance that over time, whether it's your overhead, whether it's your credit cards that you're putting things on, whatever it is, there's attrition that happens to your revenue. So being able to get as much of that up front profitably, right? Not just get the money and then it all goes back out again. But when you got that profit up front, you operate differently. You operate in a different zone. There's a different level of stress. There's a much lower stress level. All those things are value adds to being able to run your business at a higher level. Would you agree, Richard?
1,000%. You know what? Like you said, you want to remove the stressors, because when you have stress in your business, it's you're feeling a lack of control, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you people have a business because they want freedom, they want to control their destiny, they want to control the amount of money that they make, the hours that they work. That's why they don't work for somebody else. So these tools that we're sharing with you are ways to give you more control of your business. And that's the key, is that way you can achieve your vision and aim in the direction that you planned on going in the beginning when you got into business. So I think that's the key. So yeah, it's very, very true. I do want to mention, I know we get talking and a lot is mentioned, as that, business ownership is lonely. There's a lot of decisions to make, even though you have employees and customers, suppliers, things of that nature. You can't talk about a lot of the items with them that is in your mind, how to make these decisions accurately. So we're here for you. Reach out to us. Go to either bosspodcast.com or gatewaybusiness.com. Shoot us an email or text us. We'd be glad to meet with you one-on-one, have a confidential conversation of the value that we can add, and walking you every step of that journey of business ownership, so that you can achieve items that you've struggled with or hit a plateau. So we'll be glad to work to help you out there.
Yep. We want to encourage you to tune in for part 2 of the episode. It'll be coming your way in the next week or so. This is really, really valuable, hopefully, for those of you who've been watching. And we want to thank you for tuning in, whether for a second, a minute, or even longer. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Go to gatewaybusiness.com or bosspodcast.com to learn more. And for my co-host, Richard Pierce, I'm Fredrick Douglas Bussey. Any last words, Richard?
Just to take action. And again, improve your business 1% every day. Focus on success, not perfection. Perfection is an enemy of profits and progress.
Well said. Well said. I have nothing to add to that. As always, ever forward. We'll see you next time.